In this video tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to make the HELI QUINT copper wire bangle bracelet. You're going to need 5 sections of coil, approximately 3 1/2 inches in length to 3 3/4 inches. In this case, I used 18 gauge copper wire. I wound them up on a wire winder, and the wire winder, as well as the Flatwearable wire weaver, plus many other supplies, can be found on our website using the link in the description box below. I'm spreading the coils between pins in the wire weaver and securing it with a guide wire. You can see how every basically link has its own place in between each of the pins. I'm going to alternate between clockwise and counterclockwise wound coils. This makes a very pleasing effect in the finished piece. So starting with clockwise, then moving to counterclockwise and back and forth for 5 rows. Once you have completed your 5th row, you are going to put in one more guide wire, and then you will remove the entire assembly off of the weaver. Bend the ends of your guide wires so they don't accidentally slide out while you're manipulating. Once off of the weaver, you're just going to compress everything together really nice and tight. Then I'm going to use my fingers to start laying the coils down flat. I want them all to go in the same direction. So I've got just a piece of scrap PVC pipe and using it like a rolling pin and getting all of those, we'll call them links, coil links, getting them all laid down in one direction. I'm going to do this on both sides. You do want to anneal, and annealing is nothing more than heating the metal until it's red hot, quenching it in cool water, then soaking it in a mild acid, what we call pickling solution, and that removes any discoloration and fire scale. Once I've got everything rolled down flat, I'm going to start putting a curve to the bracelet using a swage block and different sizes of forming pins. I'm going to go down several sizes to get a nice curve to the inside of the bracelet. So I'm making a convex bracelet. Each of the forming pins is getting smaller as we move down in size. Also changing sizes of the channel that I'm using in the swage block. And you can see it's making a real nice curve there. I've slowed this section down to show you how beautiful and even and perfect all of the links in the coils are. The wire weaver really gives you full control, and it is so much better than trying to weave coils by hand. I used to do it by hand and just never was able to get the perfection that I get with the weaver. I'm going to trim off the wires, and I'm also trimming off some of the coils on the end and neatening everything up because I'm going to insert the guide wires from one end into the other end. The opposite end, I've curled everything down and prepared it to insert the wires into that end. Now I'm going to be soldering this seam, but you could also just, with cold connections, twisting the wire, you could also close this bracelet, so you would not necessarily have to solder. If the seam bothered you and you wanted to cover that up, you could always use some embellishment in that area and cover that up. I sprayed that seam area with some Mighty Flux, and I'm using copper wire solder, and all I'm doing is just attaching the guide wires inside to the coils, so the bracelet becomes now a bangle. Quenched and pickled, and just straightening up the wires at the seam. I've got it onto an oval wood mandrel and tapping that into shape. I ended up not using as much curve in the convex portion of the bracelet, flattened it out a bit. Still has somewhat of a convex shape to it, but I found that I really liked it better with it a little bit flatter, and that made it wider. So if you really like a nice chunky piece, this is a great option. You can use as many coils as you want. I used 5, you could use 2, 3, 7, 8, whatever makes you happy. And I put it into a magnetic finisher, tumbler finisher with a dash of 920 compound. We sell that compound on our website. And I'm going to dip that into Protect-A-Clear, and that is a clear coating finish, and that will keep it from tarnishing. It will also keep your skin from getting a green tint to it, because that is quite common when wearing copper. If you have any questions, please post them below. If you like what you see, the work that we do, please like and subscribe.